but from a cultural point of view, they're very different. And Santeria, if anyone's ever been to parts of Florida, this is the main place in the United States where you see it, and also Cuba. This is basically the Cuban or South American form of faith magic, and then also you have Spiritismo, which is also South American. You see this in parts of the U.S. and Mexico. Spiritismo is similar to Voodoo and Hoodoo, but it's kind of unique in that it does not have any slave origins. It has Native American origins. So what they did was they took the indigenous religions of the Native American peoples and mixed them with icons from Catholicism. And it's a little easier to do than you would think. In Catholicism, there are a lot of saints. They have a lot of saints. And they all have particular jobs and roles and domains that they're in charge of. And so what they do is, I'm not allowed to practice my religion. I'm told I'm not allowed to by the white people. So what I'll do is I'll replace the names of my gods with the names of their saints, and then I can keep practicing my worship, and I won't have to worry about them. They'll just think I'm doing Catholicism. They'll leave me alone. And that is exactly how most forms of faith magic occur. Now, my knowledge of left-handed faith magic primarily comes from Voodoo Catholicism. And we'll talk more about Catholicism in a minute. And so I want to give you guys a few little facts about Voodoo and Hoodoo. The main place you're going to find Voodoo, like we said, is in the Caribbean island of Haiti. But really anywhere you find a large Haitian population, you're probably going to see Voodoo somewhere in there. Hoodoo, however, you see this a lot in the Creole cultures of the South, especially in New Orleans, Louisiana. It's very common. It's very similar, like I said, culture speaking. It's unique from Voodoo. A lot of people in Haiti, there's a large Catholic population, a large Protestant population. A lot of people say, well, how can pretty much everyone in Haiti believe in Voodoo when so many people are Catholic and Protestant? So there's this funny saying that people say in Haiti, that, Haiti's 70% Catholic, 30% Protestant, 100% Voodoo. And it's very true. According to figures published by National Geographic, Voodoo and Hoodoo is currently practiced by about 60 million people worldwide, in some form or another. Now that doesn't mean there are 60 million capladas, cumbias, and mambos out there. That means there are 60 million people who believe it works. And sometimes it does, don't get me wrong. And there's primary elements in left-handed faith magic, and in faith magic in general. These first two elements, you're going to see this in any form of faith magic, not just left-handed faith magic. But first you have the presence of a pre-existing religion. Usually it's an imported religion, like with the African slaves that brought stuff over from the Yoruba and the Khoi. They came over and brought their religions and were told, that's pagan, witchcraft stuff, you can't do that. And they're like, oh, no, wait, these are saints. We got to control. They're like, oh, well, in that case, what's with the chicken? So, but for the most part, they were able to pray and worship, and no one thinks anything odd in Catholicism when you have a bunch of icons of saints and a little, shrine to saints in your room. No one thinks anything odd of it. In a Spiritismo, it's an indigenous situation where we Europeans came to America. They already had their spiritual beliefs, but we told them that's pagan witchcraft, that Northern pattern. And so we told them they had to stop practicing their beliefs and practice our own. So they did the same thing. They found a way to integrate their beliefs into our system. Then later on, new religions were introduced as time went on, obviously. Like I said, faith magic works on icons of faith. So why stop at Catholicism or Christianity? They have stuff from, you'll see icons from Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, Taoism, any number of things. And then these next two elements are primarily, or only, specific to faith, to left-handed faith magic. Number one, the first thing they use are physical tools to evoke an emotional, psychological response. Whether or not you believe in what I can do doesn't matter when you come through my door. What matters is that I convince you beyond a reason, any possible doubt, that I can do very bad things to you, and that you need to be dependent upon me. And so that's the first thing they do. And the truth is, a lot of people say, well, they use physical stuff, so there's nothing paranormal about it. Not true. We'll be there in a minute. Now, in left-handed voodoo, there's this idea of what I like to refer to as spirit politics. They've got to go in and negotiate with some pretty ugly, nasty spirits. Sometimes they show up, sometimes they don't. But a lot of times you use left-handed voting or voodoo, you got to make deals with the devil in a sense. You've got to make contracts with spirits that can do very bad things if you tick them off. And a lot of times it does happen. Holy cow, that's a lot of words. Alright. This looked a lot easier to read on my laptop. Alright. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about the dark side of faith magic. In Voodoo and Hoodoo, Ungans, which are basically male initiates, and Mambos, which was female initiates, they practice these kind of methods, and they're called kaplatas. Kaplata means someone who practices voodoo with the left hand. There's a general idea that the right hand does good, left hand does bad. I think it's very racist against left-handed people. But so don't be upset. You know, I had a student that used to teach martial arts, and all Japanese martial arts, by the way, like their weapon martial arts, they're all taught with the right hand. And so I had students come in, and I'm trying to teach them to use a sword. They're like, wait, why am I holding it like this? I'm left-handed. I'm like, not in Japan. In Japan, you're not left-handed. Apparently in Japan, they believe there's no such thing as left-handed people. The strong majority of Ungans and Mambos, like I said, they practice positive, beneficial, healing forms of faith magic. They do not practice destructive forms of faith magic. They're not trying to hurt anybody. All they really want to do is help people, heal people, and practice their religion in peace, and they should be allowed to do so. Where did I go? Oh, too many words. Alright, there we go. Unlike practices in Wicca, now in Wicca, you have this rule of three, or you have different forms of karmic backlash, as I like to call it. Basically, you do bad things happen to you. In Voodoo, there's no real belief in that. I'm going to kill myself, aren't I? There's no real belief in karmic backlash. There's belief in justice and vengeance are really two very common themes, especially in left-handed faith magic. The idea that if I do something bad to someone who deserves it, nothing bad is going to happen to me because they deserved it. For example, if a young woman's dating a young man and they break up and she's heartbroken, and so I do terrible things to him, he deserved it, right? Sometimes maybe he did. I don't know him. All right, but in Voodoo they don't have that. And because of that, the temptation for left-handed practices is very strong because there is nothing to say, if you do this, bad things are going to happen to you. All right. What they do believe, like I talked a little bit about this already, is that if you use these destructive spirits, in Voodoo they call it Loana, in Hoodoo they say Juju. They say Juju for anything. Pretty much any type of magic is just referred to as Juju. They don't really differentiate between magic and spirits, it's just all Juju. But their basic look at it is if you use violent spirits, it's dangerous. Because eventually they're going to want payment from you if you use them too often. And eventually they're going to want that payment in blood. And they're going to want it in your blood. And sometimes they come looking for it. Now, the physical destructive practices of left-handed voodoo have been pretty well documented over the last 10 to 20 years. And these are just some things that I wanted to kind of show to you guys that have been documented.